Show us what you got.
Program activated.
This week, the Marthythians listened to Sarah Brightman's album Dreamchaser. They watched the film It Follows. And they spent some time at the Lloydminster Border Markers.
Hologram program activated.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Yeah, no, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I think that the theme, the thorough running theme for this week is anticlimactic.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree.
It just was all shit.
It was just not everything it could have been, is how I would put it. Mitch and I are gonna be nicer about it. Surprise, surprise.
To eat right now, but there's no border markers to eat.
That's
well,
right.
You can't just do food every week.
I thought that's more or less what we were doing, and I feel like the item has been a thorn in my side since the beginning of this entire business.
Listeners, it's meant to be a random item, any random item.
But it has to be something physical. It can't be a concept. It has to be tangible.
How do you review a concept?
Well, that's the thing.
The border markers kind of a concept.
But you can look at them.
It's a place you can go, a thing you can look at.
Who appreciates them? The city doesn't even appreciate them.
A bunch of old people who decided that was the best thing to draw tourists into the city of Lloydminster.
I think it's the lack of
appreciate
PST that would be what would draw people in. Also, you can't get to Saskatoon or Edmonton without coming through here, right? Well, you can. You have to go all the way up around.
Yeah, it would be
You're forced to come here.
Lloydminster.
They should be so lucky to have that.
The amount of people I see take their pictures at the border markers, though,
Yeah, that's true.
makes me question how important those border markers really are.
When my sister was down, that was the one thing that she wanted to do. And it's less the border markers and more the yellow strip that runs up 50th, where you can go, Alberta, Saskatchewan, like Homer in Australia, America.
You don't tolerate that kind of crap in America, sir.
We tolerate all kinds of crap in this town.
The border markers cost an obscene amount of money.
Did you have a stat ready on them?
No.
Oh.
It was millions by the time they put them up.
Why?
Because they put them up and they weren't engineered correctly, so they were twisting in the wind and stuff. They were dangerous. They were cracking the base on the bottom, so they had to pull them back down, sort of re-engineer them, and then put them back up. So they spent way too much money. Are you turning me down? No. Yes, she is. She's turning me down.
I turned you up. For once, I'm not lying to you. I can just boost you in post anyway.
Yeah, whatever.
The
Do whatever you need
compressor
to
levels are obsolete.
The border markers cost lots and lots and lots of money. I mean, if you were thinking about $1 million bucks, even if it's just $1 million bucks, wouldn't you rather
that's
one
peanuts.
single million?
Million.
It's not that much money when you're thinking about running a city. Would you not rather have that put on the roads? Is it less than the city?
The Alberta roads or the Saskatchewan roads? I
Any
think
roads
that
in the city that need doing.
there's a road that I drive every day on my way to work, and I'm pretty sure they're waiting for every water line to bust before they repave it. But that makes perfect sense to me, because when I was living with my mother growing up, that's exactly what the city did. There was 50 feet of houses. That doesn't sound right. There was, a standard street worth of houses, and I think 80% of the water lines burst and got gravel patched before they redid the whole street.
They're just like, we're only going to do this once.
Pretty much, yeah. And then they put in like little grass bumpers. I forget what they're called, but they took a foot off each side of the street to bump out the lawns and the sidewalks. So you've got the lawn, the sidewalk, and then that little extra grass strip.
Yeah.
Local politics are, I'm sure, very interesting to our listeners. Pretty much anywhere other
They're
than
less
here.
local than what I was talking about. Nobody knows where that is.
Oh, well, fair enough. Yeah, the border markers were maybe a bad choice. There's only so much you can say about them. They're big orange towers.
Why do they have to be orange?
I don't know. That's just the color they
So
chose.
that you can see them from miles.
Well, I guess they
visible.
contrast against the blue
Miles
sky,
and miles.
right? Orange
No, you
and,
don't even see them till you're like right up to them.
Well,
And then
yeah,
you're like, oh
because-
wait, there's the border markers.
You're so worried about all the crazy ass drivers in this town. and or construction.
But it gave us a logo, guys. You can't see a picture of a Lloydminster logo without the border markers now.
Yeah, now.
It branded us.
What was it before? If we were always the border city, then what did we have before the markers?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Probably just like painted lines on the
stumps?
sidewalk.
Well, those are more important to some people than the freaking markers are.
Well, there you go.
They're stupid.
I think they were tossing around two ideas. It was either going to be these big orange border marker towers, or they were going to have, I think it was like an oil rig. And
Why were the markers not giant oil rigs?
Well, they were gonna. The other idea I think was to build like an oil rig with a walkway across that intersection or something, connecting up to like a wheat. A big, I don't know, a giant wheat bale or something.
Yeah. Well, we are kind of a picture first.
Yeah. They were just imagining it, just listing off things, kind of.
I read a story when I was in high school, and I barely remember it, but it was about this fantastic white elephant that was at a Russian zoo, and you couldn't get too close because it was afraid, and it was so afraid of people that it didn't move very much, and then one day the elephant blew away because it was just a rubber elephant. And the idea is that having the elephant was the big thing. It didn't matter that it wasn't real. It was all a perception.
Mind tricks.
Right? Advanced English in high school. And I totally forget what it's called. Like, I should Google that when I get home. What is the story about the fake elephant? Is it Russian? Is it in a zoo? Is it in a circus? Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves.
Jeeves, what is the story about the elephant?
Does Ask Jeeves still exist?
Probably.
Check it out.
It does in the realm of jokes.
I remember in the old days it was like,
was it.
What's better, web crawler or Alta Vista? And then Yahoo came along and everyone was like, Yahoo is the best search engine
amazing.
ever.
I remember taking...
And then I remember when Google came out.
Oh, yeah?
And people were like, oh, it's so simple. And some people loved that because it was just a search bar.
Yeah.
And other people were like, this is dumb.
Where's my news?
I want hard-hitting news.
Who goes on the internet for news?
I do.
I definitely just.
Where else would you go for news?
Sarah Brightman, and it works.
Oh.
Sarah. So what was the question? Sarah Brightman?
Sarah Brightman?
Sarah Brightman.
Sarah Brightman?
Sarah Brightman was a big part of my childhood growing up, and my sister was huge into the Phantom of the Opera, and she was, she used to be with Andrew Lloyd Webber, so she was a big institution with a lot of his musicals. So we had tapes and tapes and tapes of Sarah Brightman performances and such. And then, like 15, 20 years later, she does something like Repo, the Genetic Opera, where,
Meg.
right? When I told my mom that Sarah Brightman in Repo was the aesthetic I was thinking for my wedding, she immediately let out this huge breath and went, oh, okay, well that's fine. Like, I don't know if it had been like, she was imagining some like cyber god head-shaped platform boots, but for it to be...
That would have been an awesome wedding.
It was, but that's besides the point.
The cyberpunk boots thing?
Oh, no, I wore the boots under the dress.
Oh. Both of them would have. I'm sure your wedding was excellent.
For it to be like a bridge was really fantastic. So it was kind of like a little bit of a nostalgic hit for me to be picking this, because I knew I would be watching Repo excessively on my birthday, which I did, and it was great. But this got really old really fast.
Was it?
Yeah.
The album, her record,
Dreamchaser.
I called it Dreamcatcher for the past 6 days. It wasn't until literally this morning. I'm like, oh, it's not
It's just unbelievably cheesy. I felt listening to it like I should have been riding a unicorn chasing dreams.
That was what I liked about it, though. It was kind of how I hated that Anthony and the Johnsons album.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate this album.
Well, this was kind of and I felt like I picked it because I thought it was different than anything else we had done, which I don't think that you can really deny. But the problem with Sarah Brightman is that she's known as a vocalist, not as an artist. You know what I mean?
Right.
So only, I think, 1 or 2 of these are original songs, and all the rest are like covers. To be fair, there was even a cover of the Cocteau Twins, and they are a goth band, which was very exciting. She covers Paul McCartney.
I saw the Paul McCartney. I saw this scene.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
Really neat song. song, actually.
I can't say I hated it either. I just thought it was unbelievably boring.
And
I just didn't. It wasn't awful.
No.
It just was so.
It all
so
ran
why am I
together
listening to this?
after a while, and I think that a lot of, when you have someone with that caliber, it is the visual performance.
Exactly what I thought. Like, I felt I could kind of lie in a dark room and close my eyes and listen to this and picture it being an operatic performance.
What Mitch was doing was picturing Sarah Brightman topless singing this, and that's why he liked it so much, because she's got some big old bosoms.
No, because it would have been elaborate costumes.
It is. It's always a big column gown, or big column dress, and she's got for this special especially, she's got a lot of weird fascinator headpieces and stuff.
A what? What's a fascinator headpiece?
A fascinator is kind of like a little fancy party hat-ish.
Oh, cool.
Kind of slip on.
That sounds fun. I want to wear a fascinator.
No. For dudes, it's just hats.
Okay, what about women? How come women don't wear fascinators? I want to.
I do.
Do you?
For super gothy events.
What about just in life?
Not so much
I
anymore.
want to see someone just in life walk
When
around
I grew
with a
in my own
fascinator
eyebrows,
on.
I stopped wearing fascinators.
I want to be fascinated by fascinators. When
Go
you
to
grew
Fascination
your own
Street.
eyebrows, did you just say?
I did.
You didn't they took a while to come in, or what?
It took me a long time to consciously decide, do I want these eyebrows to come in? I don't know.
She was like-
I tried to keep them off of my forehead. I just tried so hard. And then finally one day I was like, I can't resist them anymore. And they just went,
Bing, and in came her 12-year molars, and shortly thereafter, in came her eyebrows.
much thereafter. I was probably 23 when I grew my
A
eyebrows
little bit
in.
behind behind a little late there. Usually
late
they
bloomer.
come around at birth, but
Yeah, no, not
not
me.
till 23.
I was able to stave them off. I'm tenacious, you see. I have strong willpower.
And she
I'll go into Tim
didn't want
Hortons.
those eyebrows so badly that she actually cauterized the skin
Where it
above
was.
her eyes.
On the upside, I've got these great scabby brows. So you can tell when I'm emoting because my scabs go up and down.
Gross.
Sometimes I put I Sharpie my scabs so they look like Groucho Marx. I don't need one of those glasses and nose
What I
things.
love about the scabs there is just the mass amounts of texture. That's not just some
I couldn't
scabs
just
you
hold a
see are
curling
just
iron on my face.
they're just like a red mark, but these are have a lot of really gritty,
wavy, bulbous. They
texture.
are. They are
And
very
so
pretty.
therefore, they give a little bit of an eyebrow kind of feel with that
They're
texture.
an homage to eyebrows,
Homage, a good homage.
which is actually part of my notes, minus the eyebrows on the movie. I feel like we could crank this thing out in 40 minutes. It doesn't need to be an hour. Oh, hey, yo.
Yeah, because none
Nobody
of us
liked
really
anything.
Mitch liked It Follows.
I like both of the music and the movie.
There you go.
And
Why did you pick this movie?
Hold on, I'm not ready for the movie yet.
Okay. Yeah, no, we can still go on
That's
Sarah
fine,
Brightman. Let's
fine.
go. Let's go.
No.
I had to write down this descriptive sentence because it describes how I felt about the album. Her voice rides ambient waves of orchestral strings, pianos, and even synths. It's like silky milky for my earballs.
It sounded so beautiful, and then it turned into.
It did.
At first, I was thinking I
is
must
nice
be
and artistic.
listening to I don't know, a reviewer for the New Yorker, and then it turned into a reviewer for Vice magazine or something.
Are
Yeah.
you sure it wasn't silky milky from your balls?
Oh, no.
No?
No, just for my
She's
earballs.
cute.
Your-
I have
your balls.
She's cute, man.
she's 50 something. I have a whole page of notes about it. 13 tracks, an hour, 58.
It was 2 hours long? No, an hour and 58 seconds.
Yes.
That makes
Sorry.
more sense.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was going. How did I lose all that
See,
time?
here's how I wrote it out.
Yeah.
See, the writing makes sense.
My problem was I could never get into it. I
found-
never, not at one point.
Yeah?
Not once.
I think the whole thing, though, made me get into it and maybe because I was listening to it at 2 in the morning in a pitch black room just with headphones
Wow.
on. And it was it was I didn't even know where one song ended and the next started.
Yeah.
But it would throw this random sub bass whoa, 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 and I was like, what is going on?
What
This
is
so
going on?
easy
Yep.
and cool.
There was a
We're
really...
envisioning unicorns and sugar plum fairies.
Well, did anybody look into what the album is about? It was supposed to be a concept because she was going to be the first singer in space.
I
What?
read that on the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then this came out in 2013, and she was going to be the first singer in space, and then for whatever reason didn't.
Her dreams, she
And,
chased them, but she never did catch
No,
them.
she did not catch them.
No.
So they were songs that were evolved around and inspired by and inspired the training required to, go into space and stuff. So there's several covers. We talked about that. Glow Soleil actually has revised lyrics. It's not a translation of the song. They're new lyrics that kind of base around. I think it's kind of like, here's our interpretation
That's
of
the
that
one
song.
She sang in English but wasn't originally in English?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay.
So my understanding is that the English lyrics are not a direct translation.
Oh, she's just like, I don't care, I'm just going to write my own.
I'm just
She
gonna
didn't
write
even. Somebody wrote
Someone
them for her.
did.
And that's the thing. That's another reason that I thought it might be interesting and be out of the norm is because, like I said, she's a singer.
Right.
She's not an artist.
Right.
So it's not about, if I don't know Venus and Mars by Paul McCartney, so I don't know how it compares to
Right.
what her version is.
Much better.
Or how she may have changed
The
something.
Paul McCartney one?
I've heard Paul McCartney's pretty much his entire catalog, yeah.
But you thought this one was better than Paul
No
McCartney?
fucking way. Are you smoking crack? When would you ever think?
I've never heard this specific
Oh,
Paul McCartney
gosh.
song.
See, I thought about looking it up, but I didn't want to go too hard. I didn't want to come in and be like, oh, well, here's how this song compares to the other one, and
Yeah.
here's the original, and it's just not like this because it breaks down like this, and here's the chord over here. Because when you think of Sarah Brightman, it isn't.
Right.
It's not the music. She
Yeah.
is the premier soprano in the world.
Yeah, when you're listening to someone like her, you're not thinking.
The song structure?
And
I didn't
if
even
she-
listen to Ave
particularly-
Maria. I didn't even bother.
Particularly if she's covering.
I knew I would cry.
That one surprised me because it wasn't the Ave Maria that I know, like that from like Boondock Saints and stuff like that.
It wasn't the super
It
slow.
wasn't like it was super slow, but when I played it, it was based on the original Ave Maria poem, which sounded nothing like the new Ave Maria that everybody
knows.
recognizes.
Oh, maybe I should have given it a time.
Recognoses.
Well, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
No, I think when you're listening to her, you have to kind of treat it like a national anthem. Thousands of people have sang the song. It's not really, the national anthem, it is the song that you're focusing on. But
The
the
emotion and
singer,
energy
you're
put out
not
by the
comparing
singer?
it. Yeah, you're not like, well, the original version of "Oh Canada"
that's
was
the
so
thing,
much better
right?
because you're listening to the vocalist. And to that end, I will say this. I know how revered she is. I know how well liked she is, and I don't dispute her talent whatsoever. All I will say is her voice is not my preference.
There's a lot of
Isn't it?
No,
vibrato, which I thought that you would really like.
I'm not a big fan of vibrato,
Unless it's
actually.
not good.
Being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. No, it's not even that. It wasn't even the vibrato. I just
But
think
it's
for
so
me,
high.
she's
it
very
all
good.
Runs together.
she's very, very good. I think tone for me makes a significant difference. I think that tone for me, because you can have four sopranos, they can all hit the same notes, they can sing in, say, the same style, but the tone of their voice is still going to be different.
One of our listeners' wife is a singer, and I cannot wait to hear feedback from them on this.
Well, a tone makes a difference. I mean,
It was good tone. Or you just didn't prefer that style.
maybe tone isn't the right word. Maybe tone's not the right word. I guess
We should have had the wife.
voice. Maybe voice itself is the right word. They're all singing in the same register, but their voice is different, and I just don't prefer her voice. I just don't prefer the way that her voice sounds.
It's so
It's not something that.
airy and ethereal.
Spacey, ethereal.
But that fits. That I felt like maybe the songs themselves weren't part of the concept, I felt, but her tone and everything about her, it was all just so and I feel like maybe if I had have just blindly listened to the record, I might have not been so influenced. I wouldn't have found what I did when I knew that it was there, if that makes sense.
Did you find that this album being that you have nostalgia kind of background with Sarah Brightman, did you find that this is some of her better work or some of her...
I don't think that I'm versed enough to do that, but again, it is because, you know her as a singer, so, I mean, I think that talking about the anthem thing, that is a good point of reference. Is someone singing "O Canada" at a Oilers game the best work they've ever done? Well, it might be a great version of "O Canada," but it's, if she comes out and writes something, or if she goes, you know what, I'm going to write. No, I can't even do an accent right now. I'm too hopped up on it.
She's a performer.
If you
what? I'm gonna write me an album.
I'm gonna write me an album, and
Southern accent.
I think that I'm just gonna try something a little more
like a male. No, a Southern accent would be fine if it's like a Southern belle, but if it was like just uneducated,
that's the only Southern I can do.
Maybe she sounds like a dude. Maybe she just sounds exactly like this, and then she has the voice of an angel when she sings.
That would be pretty funny.
I always chuckle a little bit. Some bands where the vocalist is British, and you don't hear the accent at all. And then you have bands like
Adele,
Green Day, and then they for some reason throw on some kind of British punk accent. And I wonder, are these British bands, are they intentionally taking the accent out, or is it when they sing it just goes away?
That's what I've heard, because I remember in like the Spice World movie, there was like a joke about how they don't sound English when they sing, but they're totally English, like British English.
But I don't know, because if you listen to Blur or anything Damon Albarn, Gorillaz, that kind of stuff, you hear his
intrinsically English.
Yeah, I mean Damon Albarn has a thick accent, and it comes through in his music, and I love it. I am grateful that it's not sort of covered up or replaced. Now, a guy like Tom York, he seems to straddle the line, but his vocal style is so very different that I don't think it would matter what his accent was. You maybe hear it in some syllables, his accent, but the vocal style completely sort of covers over whatever his accent would be.
Maybe it's how they're trained to sing, because, like you say, you look at Adele, who can sing amazingly. Talks like Yorkshire. Terrible.
Is she from Yorkshire?
She sounds retarded when you hear her talk, like you see her in an interview.
But
she's like, oh, that's smashing. Oh.
But some British accents are just difficult. I feel like...
Let me tell you.
I can't...
I'm okay. It's only... It doesn't matter, because...
I'm going to lose all my pen pals from this podcast.
None of us can do a proper British accent of any kind. I think...
It's okay, I'll get one.
I feel like I do an okay Cockney one, but that's about it.
I'm not drunk enough to try to do any kind of accents right now.
But I can do this one very, very easily.
Everyone can do that one. What?
But remember your Queen accent, or your Queen voice?
Oh, the Queen!
Oh, the Queen.
Oh, yes, Mitchell, I remember the Queen.
Mummy.
My Yorkies. No, corgis. Corgis.
Where are my corgis?
No, the Yorkies are corgis from York. They're not Yorkies from Cork. That's different.
Those are totally different.
I would love to have a corgi because I love their tiny little legs. I love their stubby little legs.
Do you think the princes sound like that? Like that kind of, oh, but Mummy,
I'm sure at least one
I'd
of them
like
does.
to have a Yorkshire pie. Please, Mummy. Might.
What?
Wouldn't they have that spoiled,
I think that
like,
wouldn't,
slobbish...
maybe when they were younger, but I think now they're in such the public eye, you have to have a certain amount of... Have you guys seen that
Then it becomes refined.
GIF where the Queen, like, nudges Prince William in the middle of something and he has to stand up? It's a shot of them on the Buckingham balcony, and it's William sitting down, and I guess the Queen, I don't remember if she's sitting or standing, and she just kind of like looks at him and she nudges him and she waves her hands a little bit, and then he needs to stand up and like straighten his jacket and everything.
Yeah, there's been a couple of those. Like,
Yeah.
I think when his kid...
Elizabeth is tits.
William's kid was being a shit or something, and he's supposed to just let him be a shit and do nothing. Like he's not supposed to handle it, but he like knelt down to his son to talk to him, and you can see the Queen looking at him like with a death stare.
Oh,
like,
really?
How dare you? That is not okay. That
You
is
don't
not
cross the
proper.
mother.
No, I think over time, because the British monarchy is entirely meaningless other than symbolically.
Yeah.
I think that over time, the British monarchy, the monarchs themselves are just going to give less shits.
Well, I think that
They only have to keep that image just enough so that the Brits keep them as the monarchy. So they still love them because it's all the image, right? It's
How
all
would
image.
you get rid of the monarchy? If, say, Elizabeth dies in the next year, then it goes to Charles. And if Charles dies, then it goes to William. Now, William and Kate are, contemporary people. So how long after that, because their children are, in this scenario, maybe they're like 5 and 2. So that's a long ass time before they can be the next heirs, unless they die, wherein it would go to Harry. So how long within that family could they?
How long does it take before I become king?
You're
Never.
at least 30th on the list.
30th.
Yeah, as high as I'm giving.
Wait a minute. I thought there was like the Kevin Bacon degrees of separation. Doesn't that apply to
How
like
do you
hierarchy
Kevin
of?
Bacon to the Queen?
I don't
There's
know.
definitely a way to connect Kevin Bacon.
Oh yeah. No, actually,
I'm not worried about Kevin Bacon. I'm worried about this motherfucker.
like 6 degrees of separation, whatever it is.
Google that. Yeah, Aaron.
Oh well, I know a guy who knows Stephen Harper, and Stephen Harper
That's too bad.
knows the Queen.
Oh, you're only 3 degrees away from the Queen.
I'm quick. I'm close to the Queen.
degrees.
We're tight.
Tight.
We're toy.
Like Toygas.
And Queenie.
When I lived at home with my mom, one of the public schools was Queen Elizabeth, and everybody went to Queenie.
Yeah, that's
But it
everywhere.
wasn't Queenie. It was Queen E.
Yeah, there's a Queen
Queenie.
E here. Queenie.
I think that's
Queen
what I
E.
meant to say was Queen E.
Queen E.
space E.
And then there's the QE2 highway, the Queen Elizabeth II highway. It used to just be called Highway 2.
No, we got too much to do. We can't say that one.
QE2.
Yeah.
QE2.
I'm surprised someone hasn't done a song on that highway yet. On the QE2. I don't know. On the QE2.
Excuse me. That's too bad.
Down to QE2.
Rockin'. It's one of the busiest and most dangerous corridors in America. North America, I mean. It's funny. A lot of Europeans just call like Canada as America because they just think the Americas, right?
The colonies.
So they're like, you're American. No, I'm Canadian.
Not quite. It is different, technically.
Right. They're like, no, but that's not what I meant. I didn't mean to.
So I'm just a Westerner, is what you're saying.
Yeah, Westerner. You're North American. They just leave the North part off.
Canadians are so much more well received as tourists, though.
Yeah. And if
Because
you
they
were a
don't leave a
Mexican,
mess.
you'd never want to call a Mexican an American. Not even most people don't even call them North American, but they definitively are North American.
Well, there's also South American, so it's as if this entire side of the world just
It
American.
Follows is a shitty
just totally walked right over top of your statement.
shitty movie.
I'm surprised, but not really, at the amount of hate for this movie
It's so fucking bad.
from Aaron.
It wasn't.
Especially coming from Aaron, who loves John Carpenter.
Look at how much I have written about why this movie sucks.
I wrote tiny. I wrote itty bitty.
Impressive amount of hate for this movie. Is there even?
Why do you label it hate?
What would you call it?
I say it was a shitty movie. I didn't say I hate this movie. I really do hate this movie.
Okay.
I felt conflicted.
Let's start with why it's good, Mitch.
Okay. So we're gonna start with
Wrong.
why it's good because
I'm just gonna go ahead and turn his mic down.
it's,
Maybe he'll leave this time like I did last time.
I love slow burn horror movies. I love horror movies that make you sit there and feel uneasy and uncomfortable, and they don't barrage you with jump scares.
I was definitely
What
uneasy and
happens-
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I wasn't at all.
I was uncomfortable because it was taking too long. But
Yeah, exactly. When he says slow burn, I'm thinking, well, how slowly do you want it to
That's
burn?
the point. Everything was so slow.
It was.
And boring. So what makes you uneasy about it? You're just bored.
Because it's that
don't know what's
feeling
gonna
of the
happen.
unknown. Yeah.
What is unknown about it?
When it's going to come.
When or where?
How long is it going to
It
take?
just
you?
walks.
What's it going to look like?
It just walks unbelievably slowly.
But it always
towards
gets you.
Always.
How long does it get? Do you remember when they were they in the pool? How long do you think it's going to take to get here?
And they just
Couple
don't know.
hours?
And it was different because when they went to the lake, it took like a day to get there.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. If it walks, the guy said that it walks everywhere.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you can go a distance and it'll buy you some time. And I'm thinking, yeah, but walking at that speed, if you go across the country, you got a good period of time.
Like,
You're being
And then you see it, and then you're like, I'm going to get on a fucking plane.
You're being well, the plane is ironclad, but I think that you're being ignorant to how horror movies work to say, well, if it just walks, it should take a long time. Go across the country, you'll
Does
be
it
fine.
hitchhike? Well, it could, because it does break the window and climb in through the window. So maybe it just opens the door of a car and gets in. You never see that happen.
No.
But
the
maybe it
fact that-
hitchhikes.
But that's the thing, because you don't see, you don't know.
If
Like,
you flew to
maybe-
Timbuktu, maybe it would get on a plane and follow you
But
more
maybe it
quickly.
wouldn't have to. Maybe how does it always know where you are? It obviously has some sort of inherent
Well,
tracking.
it's supernatural.
that's what I liked how they didn't.
Are you fucking kidding me?
What?
So after you razz the thing about walking, after you make fun of it about how it must just get in a car and
Yeah, it's
drive,
dumb.
then you say, "Oh, it's supernatural."
Yeah, it is. But here's where.
Fuck
no,
you. We're done.
No,
we're
because
done. I got really angry there. It
I-
really.
but-
You said that last time too.
but it escalated for no reason.
I felt that you really contradicted yourself.
I didn't. I was
Not on
leading into.
purpose.
No, I was leading into
I'm gonna
another.
cut so much of that.
I was leading into another point, and I think
I thought he liked the.
when you're talking about, I love it. It's great. Feed me. The supernatural
the
things. They seem to, in any genre, in any medium, they seem to follow some kind of rules, right? There's always something that binds that supernatural entity. There's always something that,
To its
in the way that it functions, and it follows that function, right? It's never just, I mean, maybe...
It was never really set up that well, though.
Yeah, even like Nightmare on Elm Street, even Freddy Krueger, he's still bound, right? He still functions
There
in a
are
way, but he has confinements. So the question is, what are the confinements of this thing?
We're never told.
We don't know. And
We don't know.
And you found that
No, but you
positive
can-
I
thing.
did like that.
But you can infer that. It has some confinement, so it always walks at that
It
speed,
doesn't talk.
right? It can't open the door. It doesn't talk. It can't open the door, but
It can break shit?
it can manipulate the real
You
world.
can smash doors.
That
It's so
was that not? It is, and
But it's
that supports my view of the movie. You both just came home to Megan.
well, I didn't finish my point, but go ahead.
You never will.
All right.
I felt that the whole principal theme, what like I had some nice ideas, but it all boiled down to conflict. Was this a well done homage to 70s slow burns, or was it a cheap ripoff? You know, why did all of the women look the same? My girlfriends and I spent the whole movie trying to decide if it was a end shot 3 days later or 3 days earlier without saying 3 days earlier, because all the girls looked the same.
Or at the
They
beginning.
were all fucking mush mouth Stephanie Lanas.
Oh yeah. But
The score was kind of a throwback to older
Oh
shit.
the
gosh.
score was so good.
No, it was the worst, man.
The score.
Fuck.
Have you seen that new show on Netflix, Stranger Things?
No.
I want to.
Don't watch it then if you hated the score for this.
But it's such
it's
that's a
retarded.
direct throwback to the 70s and the 80s though, and this one I wasn't sure. I couldn't decide, even at the very end, I couldn't decide if it was a well done honor to old stuff or if it was just, you know, bullshit being like, yeah, we're gonna half-ass it and go ahead and do this.
Well,
I couldn't decide.
Here's the other thing about this thing, right? It has some confinements.
Say it. That makes it sound like
definitely
it's
has some
better.
confinements. So all you've got to do is figure out what its confinements are, and you can escape it easily.
That's not the point.
Well, what was
Second,
with the
but you
water?
can, and then second, but you can, and then second. So it's slow. So yeah, I mean, the only time it's really gonna get you is if there is no set time frame. Because yeah, fair enough. That one guy, it was like 3 weeks before it got to him, and it got to him at the lake quicker, whatever. It also doesn't seem to be able to propagate itself near you. ever. It always has to walk across a field or like
But
through a house, or it doesn't propagate
knows
in the
which
house.
house
It
is
has
yours.
to. Yeah, but it always has to.
GPS in its brain on where you are at all times.
It always takes this extended period of time, and then somehow, other than that douche, was he Mexican or was he Indian?
Oh, I don't know.
Greg.
Yeah, Greg.
Greg is the only one who didn't seem to be able to be smart enough to go, oh, that's not my mom standing in the doorway with her tits hanging out. And
That was stupid.
So he was the only one, and the rest of them somehow they see it like across the field because a noise is made. Like it always gives a warning to everyone but Greg, and they're like, oh shit, it's slowly walking towards me.
No, but they were paranoid the whole time because they would look at anybody, and even when the guy from before, he's like, do you guys see that person?
And I loved that. I immediately thought, if this was me, I would always have a buddy with me. That would be the buddy system. Do you see that person? Do you see that person?
Yeah.
And then, my poor girlfriend, Nicole, the whole time we were watching this, she's like, why is no one trying to kill it? Why is no one chopping his head off?
But then
Which was ironclad logic.
But it led to like the coolest showdown sequence throwback ever. You guys are looking at me like I'm crazy.
Throwback to what?
Throwback to like the moment when like the gang of kids decide to take down this monster and they devise this ridiculous plan that's
Stupid.
never gonna work.
Obviously, because it wound up
And
with the
that's-
main
Right.
girl
Yeah.
getting a TV in
And
the
they
face.
throw in there and she's just like, oh, it didn't work. And that was like, and that was it.
I don't even understand
It just
what the
didn't work.
point of
Yeah.
that was supposed to be. But
They
I
were
do-
gonna electrocute it to death.
But that means they would have had to follow her into the water, which it didn't, which may be a confinement. Why did it not just walk into the water to get her?
Because it's slow, but it's not stupid. is
Yeah,
he
that's
said.
what the guy said at the beginning. It's slow, but it's not stupid. But here's the other thing I'm thinking. Okay, so you really want to get it into the water. I mean, at that point, it didn't matter because no one was getting electrocuted anyways. But when it has nothing left to throw in,
Why does it not just go in?
it's either going to go in because it has no other choice at that point. It's got no other recourse, or
They were screwed though, because even if it came in, she couldn't get electrocuted at that point.
Right.
They could just run away.
So she spends all this time in her pool in her backyard, and she's the worst fucking swimmer on the face of the earth.
Yeah, but she's
Cannot
not
swim.
swimming in that pool. She's just, floating around in her swimsuit.
Floating around while the neighbor boy stares at her.
I really didn't like this final female. I didn't like her at all.
The main character.
Yeah.
Like, oh, she was kind of.
I didn't like any of them.
No, they were all super related. Let me get this out of my mouth.
Hateable.
Well, yeah, that's why I hated them, because they were just, it was like, all right, we're gonna pick you 5 kids. Like, they had an open casting call and they picked the most generic kids
Right.
out there, and I assumed that was an effort to make it relatable. Oh my god, that could totally be me and my friends. I don't know if it's because I'm jaded, because I was drunk, because I'm drunk now, or because I'm just an angry fucking person.
See you just smack talking this movie while drunk.
Ah, it's so bad.
I did.
It's right behind you. Look fucking
The
behind you.
More or less, especially at the beach.
You can pick it apart like crazy, this movie. That's the thing. It's endless. It's like every scene you're like, fuck that, stupid, fuck
But
that
it felt
shit.
like they meant well. It felt like they meant
It
to
felt
do
like
something.
someone had a really cool idea, and then they hired a 12-year-old to write the dialogue.
That's almost exactly what my girlfriend said. She's like, this could have been so much better. This idea was so good, but it just they didn't do it right. The idea and the concept were great, but it just didn't pan out. I will say though, let's see, what did I say? The tall man was scary!
The tall man in that scene where he just like comes through the hallway.
And like almost walks over top of that
Yeah.
bitch. Yeah, that was scary.
Creepy as shit. I did like where it would give that ominous bassy tone, and then you start looking in the background for it, and it never focuses in on it. It's always kind of just, is that it back there? And then it starts getting closer, and you're like, oh, that's totally it.
We cheered at the chair hit at the beach. That was like the one time that we were all like, yeah! Well, because that was the big question that a lot of us started to have. What is it? Is it only tangible to the person that it's possessing, for lack of a better term, that's affected by it? Can anyone do anything at all? Has nobody tried to do anything at all?
Yeah, here's my thought, okay?
Yeah.
I would have tried this. Okay, it has to bust a window and crawl inside. It doesn't just, like, go
Smoke
through
through
the
it.
door, smoke through
It's
a door
physical.
or anything. It's physical. So lock the thing fucking up. Lock it up.
Chain it up.
Put it in a plexiglass case.
Right.
Encase it in chains. Throw it in the lake. I don't
Cover it in
fucking know.
cement.
But then if you did that, it's just always going to be there. It's always...
And then why didn't
You
I...
know where it is, so who gives a shit?
Is it ever going to get out, though? You don't know.
Drop it in a
It's
fucking
never gonna
volcano.
come after you.
Okay, then keep it locked in your closet.
So you
In
always
your
know where it is?
plexiglass closet.
With
But
my shoes? No
Feed
way.
it sometimes.
It's interesting watching you guys pick it apart because the director had said that he made this movie essentially like a dream. That's why it was so
Right.
there was
Ambiguous.
so many conflicting things.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, this
Yeah, it was
makes
fucking
sense with-
conflicting.
Do you know what he actually did? He made this movie, and then when people were like, "What is this bullshit?" and he went, "You know what? It's just a dream, guys."
Shut
So
up and let me finish my thought.
Yeah, shut up and let
Okay.
him talk.
okay,
So
okay.
he said he had a dream about a creature that follows you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he made a movie based on this dream, and that's why everything is so. Even the time is ambiguous with the tube TVs watching the black and white movies, where it's clearly kind of in modern times with like touchscreen cell phones, and it's all
Shaped like seashells.
It's shaped like seashells,
Which was amazing.
Which, yeah,
I would buy
doesn't
that.
exist. And how everything just was so conflicting. The costumes, the lighting, like her room looked like a 70s girl room. And it was just all so conflicting, like Meg said. But I didn't care. Like, I didn't have to pick that apart because I just thought the idea was so cool and so creepy that this thing was relentlessly following you and not a monster that's just going to slash your throat and kill you at
Right.
any moment. It's just this slow burn. And that's kind of what I liked about it. And how I found myself kind of laying in bed, just kind of thinking, man, that is a fucking creepy monster. It just stayed with me a bit.
I don't know. I mean, The Grudge was kind of like that, though. He would fucking crawl down a staircase and
Yeah.
Reagan
you know,
did
I don't
it.
know. I just feel like if you're gonna do something where it's like this tense, sort of slow bit and then tense and slow, I don't know. This was just when the monster did show up, I was bored. When I was waiting for the monster, I was bored. When I was listening to the lore, what little there is of it, I was bored. I was just always bored. I was just bored.
I feel like it could have been condensed into a more efficient short. But that does, yeah, and that does take away the idea of it being, you know, an older, slow burn movie. But it felt like maybe they made it a slow burn because there wasn't quite enough material to go around.
Yeah.
So they just kind of, like, I felt like the kids had conversations that weren't important. Like, I don't...
I didn't really like how she was constantly quoting the old kind of books that kind of had something to do with the metaphor of this monster being death, always
Right.
following you kind of thing.
And then that boy, and then Paul was like, "Why didn't you fuck me?" And I'm like, "Are you a fucking nuts?
God.
You want AIDS? Are you asking for it?"
STDs, that's what I thought. Is the monster a metaphor for STDs?
Well, that's
I
what
did
we
read.
thought.
I did read about that, and they were like, and the director and whatever, they were like, "No, it was just kind of a dream thing." And I'm like, "It's intentional or not, it's clearly STDs. Like,
I
it's
feel
sexually
differently.
transmitted."
I actually felt that it was maybe like a link to your first, because you're always thinking about it. It's always following
Or like
you.
an emotional thing.
Yeah. If it can take the form of anyone, you know, well, maybe you wish it had been someone else, or you think that it was this person, or, you know, this was what had crossed your mind when you wish
Ooh.
you hadn't have been doing it, but you were.
She wishes she slept with all the wrong people.
I'm sure she would take the wrong person if it meant that she wouldn't have this thing following her.
Back to the sound. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, how funny was it though after the weird nerdy kid finally banged her and got it following him, and then just instantly went to a prostitute just to kind of.
But he
dump it off?
didn't. He didn't pick him up though, did he? He just drove past the prostitute.
That's what we
That
thought.
was the point. I thought he went to just find some prostitutes. And
Well, I thought that Greg also
I
passed it
would've.
off to the girl in the cafeteria, but obviously he didn't if his mom fucking banged him to death.
right.
Because that was confusing.
Did she gang the people on the boat too? Did she gangbang?
Yeah, she did.
Right.
yeah.
They never shows.
That was my question. So obviously you can't transmit it to multiple partners, just one.
So if you have an orgy, it's whoever draws the short straw.
So you want to pick a hooker, because then think about that.
The hooker's just gonna keep banging people.
Yeah,
But it won't matter, 'cause it'll
no,
be
because
the
it'll
first
go
person.
to the first John.
Then
But
his
if you're
wife gets it,
lucky,
then she dies, then he dies, then the hooker dies, and it's back to you. Then who cares?
It's a love letter.
no, but that's the problem. Like, that's the problem with that whole idea, right? Is if obviously this thing has been perpetuating itself throughout a time period, unless it just started existing basically with Greg, who somehow, lucky fucker, has been able to avoid it. The thing is, it just keeps going further down the chain, so eventually people are safe from it because there's too many people in front of them.
But that's a great point, because I feel like it really emphasizes Hugh's first thing, just pass it off. Just pass it off to someone, because if you get 10 people exactly who are just like, fuck this, you're next, hey baby, let's go to my house, and you don't have that final girl archetype. And again, this whole thing just seemed like a means for a mopey final girl. Well, why don't you just pass it off? I can't do that. Well, why not? I just can't. Really? Is it because your morals are so high? Is it because you're so fucking chaste that you couldn't do it? That's obviously not true.
Right. It should be, though, because that was my point, was just do your part and stop fucking. If all those people just were like, no, I'm not going to pass it on, eventually it's going to reach the end of the line, and then what? It's just going to go into someone random?
Well, maybe that's how they kill it.
Well, yeah, so just stop. Like, I don't know. I'll take it back to the STDs thing, right? Sorry if I'm...
Loose lips, sink ships.
If there are any...
Syphilis.
If there are any HIV-positive listeners to our podcast, I'm going to not preface this statement with anything. If you stop fucking people,
offense,
you won't spread the HIV. It's the truth, though. It's the truth. There's no treatment for it. Kills people. You wouldn't want to pass that on, I don't think. So, I feel that way about this monster. You don't want to pass it on? Let it just kill the last person who happens to still be alive. It can't, I don't know, they're young people, so obviously, eventually it's going to get someone who's 80, and then that's going to be it.
Can you imagine that thing running rampant through a nursing home?
Just killing everybody.
Well, you know that they don't believe in condoms.
I suppose not. Netflix, I think, I wondered if reading the description for a movie actually indicated whether I should watch the movie or not. And this movie, I think, finally puts that to bed and confirms it. Yeah, it was. I read the description and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And it felt that way the whole way through.
Oh, you're going to hate the next movie that we watch then if you look at it. If you look at it based on description, you're going to think one thing. But my understanding is that if you look at the surrounding factors, you may think something else.
Well, I will be open to it. Have you ever seen that movie Bad Words with Jason Bateman?
No.
He's an adult and he goes into that big spelling bee competition.
No, never saw it.
He finds a loophole and he gets through. It's a good movie. You should watch it. It's quite good. But I watch it and I think, just sound it out. Just sound it out. It's not that difficult.
Have you seen some of those intense spelling bees where the champion of the world spelling bees? Those
for kids?
And they have to ask the origin of the word.
Yeah, but you know why that they're always kids? You know why they don't have adult versions of it? Because adults can just find the patterns and sound it out.
On some of those words that they use on the spelling bee, where they're like inflammation, and it's like the origin of it is Roman with a silent SQ at the beginning.
Yeah. There's not a lot of those, really. I mean, very, very few.
Yeah.
There's only so many of those you can do. I don't know. Mostly you can just sound it out. I don't know. It's a rare situation where I read a book and have difficulty with a word. It's, in fact, a never situation. Sometimes I don't know the definition of it. And that's the truth. I can read it, and I can pronounce it properly, and I can spell it. But then I have to sort of look up the definition and go, okay, I think I know what this defines as, and I'm close, but that's where those words, that's what I love about words, that's what I love about language. It is similar to this word you more commonly know, but it's slightly different in this sense. And that's what I enjoy about vocabulary.
Here's an easy one for you. Spell the word foulard.
Is it
foulard?
It is French.
Well,
FOULARE.
F-O-U-L-A-R-D.
Foulard.
It's not my fault that you can't pronounce
But
French
it's French.
correctly.
But it's French.
What, you're saying you're supposed to pronounce the D?
Yeah, you do.
It's scarf.
Foulard.
Scarf en français?
Foulard.
Foulard.
Not foulard.
Foulard.
Flard.
Foulard. Foulard.
I'm not French.
Foulard.
I've come dressed as a smart European from the 50s in my foulard.
I think... in my
I like how
foulard.
you looked at me after you said that. Like, you knew I was looking at you like, are you fucking kidding me? That's just my resting face.
Okay, these words aren't even that hard. Okay, you're right, Aaron. These are. I'm looking at top 10 spelling bee words.
Yeah.
And
One of them is excellent.
no.
EXXELLINT. Excellent.
Excellent. Excellent. Excellent.
Excellent.
I had the
Ooh, that's a
gayest straight man in my office today at work. Yeah, he was very enthusiastic and he was very fun to be around, and he was there with his girlfriend. They're going on a road trip. He was very nice. He was a very good speaker as well.
Sometimes I think there are some guys who probably are gay. They just made the right decision. Are we recording right now?
No. Oh.
Yeah, we are. We're recording.
We've been rolling for a fair amount of time. I never know when the best bridge is going to come up, so I just roll it. Like, especially when I left to go to the bathroom last week, I was like, I don't know what we're going to do. And then I typed out like 3 paragraphs to you guys of what I was going to do, and then I was like, oh, none of that shit. It's fine. I got it.
And you just did it.
I just did it, yeah. And you know what? No one's going to know what came out of that except me. Because I doubt you guys remember. And I doubt Kyle remembers.
Mitch actually rarely listens to the finished podcasts.
In its entirety.
Yeah, and I think that's mostly because you're confident that you haven't said anything that you would think should be censored, so you're fine with it.
Oh, you listen to listen back at yourself to see if you said anything really offensive.
No.
He's the most likely to do so, and
I know
the
I do
most
so.
to gain next to me, or lose. You and I think, have the most to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
Probably.
listened to actually quite a few episodes in their entirety, though.
I do
Have
when
you?
I edit them.
Just jerk yourself off there a little bit more, Mitch. Is that what you said earlier? Is that the way it went?
Listen to every episode.
Yeah, I've listened to every episode. No, I think that it's... I listen back just to see how our conversation was and critique myself a little bit to see if
It's
I did
all
it.
about Aaron.
Well, no. I mean, what am I going to... If the audio levels are bad because Mitch is too quiet, or if I'm... Yeah, Mitch is too quiet.
Well, that is an inherent
It's easy
issue
to
with our
critique
setup as well.
myself, and I want to get better at presentation. So that's largely how
This is a
the reason why. Well, anything's a
Kind of
presentation.
self-critiquing, is that what you're saying? You're trying to get better?
Yeah, I want to get better for our listeners. Hey, I did tell you, Meg, that I do plan on starting up a podcast of just me, politically based. And
have fun with that.
you're welcome to. It may gain more listeners faster. It'll be
You know
shorter
what?
format.
The more inflammatory you are, the more listeners you will get, especially with your particular political view.
No, here's what'll happen on.
Do you guys like my new
on my
mustache?
political? Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Cat selfie.
Yes.
My political podcast should be very well thought out and presented in a good manner. And then people will listen to this and go, oh, wait a minute. So they'll think, oh, good smart guy, good ideas maybe, or bad ideas, I disagree with them. And then they'll listen to this and go, oh, he's a racist, bigotist, sexist.
According to the last episode, Mitch was the racist.
I was?
Yep, you were the racist.
What
Yeah.
did I say? I wasn't even drunk.
Don't
I
worry,
put the
Aaron
words in your
told
mouth.
him. He really did.
Oh,
He
yeah.
really did.
Oh, yeah.
I engineered it.
I remember that now. Aaron.
Yeah, so the Border Markers sucked. It Follows sucked. Sarah Brightman doesn't suck, but the album was meh.
Spell eudaimonic.
Eudaimonic?
Yeah.
Are you pronouncing it correctly?
I looked at the pronunciation.
Eudaimonic. Eudaimonic.
What?
Eudaimonic.
That's what the pronunciation key says.
Definition, please.
The definition is, I can use it in a sentence.
That's not what he asked.
If hedonic happiness is the happiness of all senses, then eudaimonic happiness is the happiness of the soul.
Eudaimonic.
Eudaimonic means producing happiness.
Just nothing on his face.
Really? Right away?
Yeah, it's EU.
EU.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Demonic?
Yeah, that makes sense.
EUDAEMONIC.
Daemonic. Eudaimonic. Yeah. That makes
You don't
sense.
cut the nails of any of your cats, do you? You don't cut the nails.
No, never. Never trim the nails of my cats.
Listeners may like to know that I have one of the 4 cats in this household on my knees. A little black cat about medium size.
Her name is Ambrose, after Rona Ambrose, current leader of the opposition in the House of Parliament.
She's very, very snuggly. I like her very much. Not, I would say, one of my top 2 of the 4 cats that are here. She's just on my lap.
If you had to rank the cat.
I would. It would be Little
cats.
Miss, Little Black, Fat Man, and Stockwell. Because Stockwell doesn't need anything from anyone.
Stockwell is Stockwell. Stockwell and Ambrose, both named after conservative politicians in Canada.
No less.
Hologram program deactivated.